to or whatever, but the bottom line is I had to switch to this camera because this camera has great low light filming. GoPro just sucks at that. There's supposed to be all these different techniques I can do to make it film a little bit better, but I've seen them, tried them, and they don't work. It's just it's a camera that was the one thing they didn't bake in. In their defense, they've always just made these things for guys who are, like I said, there's a bias against, oh, I think that was a firefly. There's a firefly. Jeff, here's your fireflies. I don't know if you can see that. There's a firefly. Let me turn my camera off, my light off, because maybe, there you go. I don't know if you can see him or not. There's only one. When I was a kid, over in this area, you could go out there, and we were stupid. We were out there capture them and stuff, put them in jars. But one firefly. Let me get out these gentlemen's way.
Hi.
Pase.
Thank you.
De nada. Pase, pase.
Good night, my friend.
Igualmente. That answers my question. Yeah, you can bike through here. You just saw that. I don't know if that's going to be part of the B-roll. We'll send it in and see what they say. This is B-roll at night. I am so sorry that I could not get to this other side of the path. I will get you some more next week. And then I will be done doing... I'm not done with the branch. That's why it takes a whole group to look at this. It's a lot. You want a nature trail, but at the same time, because we're human beings, we want to interact with nature. I mean, we are nature. So we're trying to clear paths. We're trying to kind of keep the thing controlled. That's just what we do. That's what that's what this big meat brain's supposed to do. The plants don't see it as a problem because they're plants. They react to the environment, but they don't really protect it. So that's what we're here for. Somebody brought something in one day, weren't supposed to, and so now I'm surrounded by some human's mistake. We're trying to rectify the situation, but this is a very fertile ground, and I suspect that the reason it's so fertile over here is because the sewer line runs through here, and I'm pretty sure there's a leak. As I'm looking at the way this stuff is spreading, this whole ground is saturated with human waste. Now, nature's coming in and claiming most of it, but there's a leak. Can't prove it yet, because so how would you tell? You tell where it would sprout up around the leak, but this is all sprouting. It's a good chance that there is a leak because that sewer line looks old. It looks like they put that in there. It's probably as old as me. It's all leftovers from the 70s and 80s. I'm turning on the light because I don't have night vision. There we go. But yeah, I need to go back there and break the law again. No, I just take it with me. It's a bag. Besides, maybe I can use it to pick up more trash. That's what I always love about, at least when people leave bags, I can use them. But anyway, sewer line, old, probably leaking. My guess is there was repairs that were supposed to have been done 40 years ago, and they just never got around to it, like everything else in Dallas. Like, I'm finding out about the apartment explosion. I'm sitting here thinking that some company didn't know what the hell they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. They said that the federal government backed these guys and said, look, they tapped into, it was an unmarked gas line. So guess who's at fault there? Once again, Atmos Energy. They fucked up. They dropped the ball like they did in my neighborhood. Anyway, long story short, I think the sewer line needs to be fixed. If I say that out loud, which I already have, I guess I'll be posting, that means they got to come back here and tear up all of this and mess with all of it. That's the worst case scenario. I think they need to do an assessment. I'm wondering, is the sewer line draining into the branch? Is it supposed to be running somewhere else? Because I see those algae blooms. That's another sign that something is a pollution. I say that and it smells something stinky. Oh, yeah, there could be a sewer line leak. Feels like my whole body's covered in with burrs. Anyway, I need to get more B-roll footage. Should I take this with me? Okay, back to listening to Aka 13. Oh shit, was that? All right, let's count out. Gonna be a lot of backtracking on my thing. It's gonna be looking like, what was he doing going back and forth like that? Starting now. 1, 2, 3. That's what happened. It's supposed to be right here. It's supposed to be right here. Okay. I should have took a picture, but I didn't. Anyway. All right, time to start doing my GPS thing. This will work. This is my marker. I need night sight? Nah. It does it naturally. Sorry, Mr. Mathers. I'm just really excited to get this marker put back up here. You know what? Let's walk. So there's more paint. Somebody went through here and just kind of hit it with paint. Why? Firefly. All right, Jeff, there's another one. Yeah, there's another one. All right, it's me. I don't know if you can see him or not. I hope you can on this camera. Like I said, it's not going to be like it was when I was a kid, where you go down to this one swampy area and it's just lit up, or like if I was to go down there to Shorecrest. It used to be that I'd look over and there'd be a bunch of them. Just, we don't have fireflies anymore. I can get down and depressed, but I'll just say we don't have fireflies anymore. I don't know why. All right. So to prove my point, if I walk and I get 300 steps, then I'll know, okay, they're 150 yards apart. So 1,500 yards is about 160 yards shy of, I'm sorry, 260 yards shy of a mile. That's a big difference. Maybe they're 160 yards apart. Keep in mind that I was walking, my legs kind of static, and I don't know how big my step is. I'm doing it like the NFL guys. That's how they count out 10 yards.
Hey, bro.
Hey.
It's gone.
Why? Oh, it's a new tag. All right, looks nice. That looks tight. I don't know what it says, but I like the style. Okay, so it looks like it's about 200 yards. Which means I need to shift the goalpost. So I guess there's supposed to be one. I don't know. I just know that marker 109 is missing. always love to wonder. Okay, that's a good example of the branch kind of getting swallowed up here. What am I walking through? I think there might be a water leak. This looks like maybe sprinkler runoff. Once again, make a note. Okay, so as you can see, we skipped over marker 109. We did 108, 110. So where's 109? Okay, so now I'm here. So I start walking, I take steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. $120 yards between 108 and 107. So it's random. It's whatever they decide. So if you do 120, 1,760 divided by 1,760 divided by 120, 560. Okay, so that's about 14 to 15 markers between all right. What time is it? Oh, it is that time, isn't it? I don't even want to know.
Alright, I see Popeyes. Y'all like Popeyes? Y'all go to me? I see y'all. My mama, I see y'all. Look. Look right to your left. Right there. Alright. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Y'all blessed night, man. I gotta get one of those.
Amazon, 20, I think 20 bucks. Said I think because inflation. It's funny, yesterday I was out here, I was thirsty, wasn't completely dehydrated, my hip was hurting. Today, I feel great. I'm carrying the water, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna, none of these lights are working. So you want to know what Bachman Lake is? It's random. I think they covered up the graffiti next to 107. And then the guy said, oh, I'm gonna show you. So he puts a new tag a little further on the other bridge, on the Lemon Bridge at 108. Now I know code enforcement, some of the code enforcement people watch my videos. I don't know what the parks people do. I know what my parks people do. I'm gonna show this to the friends of Bachman Lake. I don't know what they'll say. I need to start saying we. I figure you aren't part of a group till you pay your dues, but maybe I paid them in more ways than one. It's just that I've been cash strapped. There's so many different projects I'm going on. I got one where I'm going to put a radar sign on my street. I told the guy, I said, hey, I said, I'm gonna go to Amazon and buy this this radar. Now here's the thing, is I told them I wanted speed signs. I wanted speed bumps. I wanted something traffic calming. They told me, well, Mr. Young, based on the blah, 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 and they started quoting this thing out of the traffic engineer's book. I was like, yeah, that's outdated. I didn't say that, but that's what it is. It's like, y'all came up with this arbitrary formula for the United States, and that book was written way back in the 1970s. I need you to look at what the Europeans are doing. I need a 30 kilometer per hour limit on here. I need something that makes people think before they come speeding down there like a drag strip. So, I told them I wanted speed limit signs. They told me no. This time I sent another one. I said, hey, I'm gonna buy this on Amazon. It's a radar thing. Do I need a permit to put this on my property? Day later, closed the ticket. Day later, they said, Mr. Young, we're gonna install speed limit signs. Wait. You told me you didn't need to. I'm like, well, which one is it? Is it not necessary, or so? That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about when I have to deal with Dallas. I don't understand how you don't see eye to eye with me. And then when I say I'm going to do something like this, suddenly you start doing what you're supposed to do in the first place. Not talking about code enforcement. That's a whole nother issue. Someone once told me there's some bad apples in every organization. I'm sitting there reading an article about 20-year veteran in DPD. He gets caught up in a prostitution sting, and the crazy thing about it was that was the task force that he was a part of. Was going after human trafficking. You think he would have known they had an investigation going on? So okay, maybe I need to watch my. How about not being a creep? That's the bottom line. He got caught in the sting. Bad apples. I know people say that a lot, but it's the expression, a bad apple spoils the bunch. Some people use the logic leap where they say, I've never heard this before, is like if you're protecting the bad cops, that makes you, if you're a good cop protecting the bad cops, that makes you a bad cop. You know, it's absolutist trash like that that keeps meaningful progress from happening. You don't ask why the guy might be protecting that guy. Maybe it's because, but then again, like if someone was, when I was watching this one guy, just like you can tell you're in a toxic culture. There's a line from Batman, Batman Begins, where he said, in the city of this crooked, who besides in the city of this crooked, who's left a rat to? And that was kind of the sentiment, is you could expose your fellow bad cops, but if you do, they're going to retaliate because it's a toxic. Most police are. It's a toxic work environment. How did I get off on this tangent? Sorry, just pointing out how the speed limit sign thing. But anyway, I'm looking over here, and I don't know if you can see how dark it is because I got this low light thing on here that shows it, and you'll say, "Man, it looks beautiful out here." That's not what I see. Like, I don't know if Parks is supposed to cut and trim these trees to a certain like what's the recommended height. It's kind of cool that you got the canopy. That's what it's supposed to be here to, you know, keep people cool while they're on the trail. But as you can see, it's covering up the lights. So I come out here and it's kind of dark. I don't. I'm just looking over and I see a bunch of people in their cars. I think about how stupid it is that car culture is so ingrained in this area that people drive here, sit in their cars, eat with the engine running while looking at this nature. They don't get it. At least turn the engine off. That's all I'm asking. It's like, I understand that you gotta drive everywhere. It's hard to walk down here. I think the craziest thing about Bachman Lake is that I'm sitting here at 9 o'clock. Most of the lights are broken. And in about 90 minutes here, they're going to cut the lights off anyway. You know, they were doing this to save money or something. I don't know. But at 11 o'clock, they turn the lights off. Now, I don't see a cop out here telling everybody, "Hey, the park closes at 11, you can't be here." He's shooing people out. So people are going to be, you know, people are going to do what they want to do. Somebody wants to come out here and walk around at midnight. I've been there where I didn't particularly want to be at home at that time, so I just started wandering. And wouldn't it be nice just to wander down to the park, walk around, clear your head, figure out what you're going to do with your family or your wife or whatever, and then go back. But you can't because they turn off the lights at 11 o'clock. So you don't know who or what's out here in the dark. Anyway, I don't understand a lot of things about Dallas. Maybe I need to say something. Just go down to the city council every once in a while when they're having a meeting and just bring up whatever random things popped into my head. Hey, can I get a solar? No. I was going to say that out loud, and then I started doing research about solar panel theft. Howdy. So there's a story recently where there've been thieves going around stealing Tesla Powerwall and battery shipments. They've been catching them in the middle of the transit, stealing the trucks and driving off with them. I thought, is this a thing? Do some research on, like I said, you do your own research, come to find out that yes, there are people stealing. Howdy. There are people stealing solar panels and solar. They're stealing the wiring. They're stealing the batteries. They're stealing the inverters. I didn't want to say this out loud, and it appears that most of the guys are from India. They caught a couple of thieves in LA. They're from India. So it's a big time thing where I guess now people are stealing solar things. I was going to say maybe what Dallas could do is they could put up a giant solar array. They could put up a solar array. It wouldn't even have to be that big. About 20 panels to 350 kilowatt hours. I'm sorry, they generate 350 kilowatts. Not 350, what is it? 350 watt. 350 watt panel. Make like a 10 kilowatt system here, something like that. 9.5, 10 kilowatt. And that would be it. And then put a battery backup on it. I think the whole setup would probably cost them about 50 grand. And then put that in somewhere around here. It doesn't even, it's not even have to be that big. It could be like a corner, like that corner where the skate part is. Put a solar array there with a battery, and then you can use that to power the lights. During the day, it's charging. You know, it's putting the thing in the battery, and at night, it runs off of that. It can be completely separate from the grid. But after reading about what happens with the thefts, my biggest worry is somebody would just cut their way into the flimsy fence that Dallas would install around it and steal the whole thing. You can't have nice things. Every week I come here. I'm not you can't really call anybody a cat owner. Like they say, cats adopt you. Well, the reason I was bringing that up is I had a colony of cats that adopted me. Here I am putting these nice cat houses together. Yeah, that's cat shelters. Putting these cat shelters together, putting them on there, putting the grass, putting the nice hay in there, making sure they're nice and insulated and, you know, comfortable. And I put them in a location. Howdy. A lot of people over here. Anyway, I put these cat pads on there. They sit on them as charcoal activators and all that good stuff. And what the cats would do is they would go in and they would pull those out of the shelters. And I was like, "You stupid ass! Why were you pulling them out?" And they would sit there. They'd be halfway stuck out of the thing, and then they would just leave it. I'm like, you have your idea how you want to set things up. You have your idea of how it's supposed to be. And people use it, and they have other ideas. And that's pretty much what sums up Bachman Lake. In your head, you're thinking, okay, you use it this way. That's the smart, sane way to do it. And someone looks at it and they say, you know what? I need to put some paint on that. I want to put a sticker. I want to put something there. Or they pull it out and they say, hey, I'm going to take that home with me. And I was like, well, if we meant for that to be for you, we would have gone to your house or we would have gave it to you. That's what you're thinking about. Anyway, that's my rant. It's hard to have a coherent thought when you're looking at 5 different things. And my hip's starting to act up, which I guess means that I have walked too far, which is a problem because I probably got another 3 miles. Maybe I'll stop off on one of those benches, hydrate a little bit, about 10 minutes. I think one of the reasons I'm struggling is not just because I'm getting older, but it's because I've been doing it for the last 2 days. I've been walking around here on 6 hours of sleep. See, I don't understand what's happening. Is someone running off into this? Are they pulling it out of the ground? Hammer. If I did, maybe it's pressure. Okay, but I have a feeling it's human intervention. And it's like, why would you do that? Why would you get rid of this ubiquitous barrier that's keeping you from walking on a muddy trail? That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I hope that it's not some person's going in there and accidentally kicking it over because they're too stupid to stay on the trail. I'm hoping that it's just that they didn't stake that in well enough, or maybe the ground's too soft or something. But I don't know. Every week I go through there, I'm like, I'm pissed off because that was a slog. I put in 3 different requests to get that put in. Now I got it coming out of the ground for unknown reasons. I hope that somebody isn't fucking, but you never know. Cats. I think cats suffer from mental illness. We don't see anything wrong with it because cats don't have a personality. Cats don't have that much of a brain problem. But I think living in our environments kind of messes with their heads a little bit. I think a cat out in the wild doesn't bother with any of that stuff. The cat raised amongst humans, around humans, they act out just like people. They want your attention, they'll destroy something. The cats I had in my colony, I'll be outside working on something, and I look around and there's 2 or 3 pairs of eyeballs staring at me. And I'm like, why are you here? Go somewhere. And they're just looking at me constantly. I was like, this doesn't concern you. He's like, I don't know that. Cats always want to know what the hell I'm doing. And I can't, like, tell them, well, I'm taking out the trash. Well, I'm cleaning up this thing. Well, they don't care. It's just like, I want to know what you're doing out here and if it benefits me. And once you leave, I'm gonna go test it out. I was like, yeah, that's fair. Man, there's a lot of people here today. Can't get my. Okay, good. I guess I can't get my watch. So it's almost 10 minutes till 2200 or 10 p.m. Good. Whew. No, it adds weight, but it's worth it. Carrying the water bike. Trying to figure out, when did India become a big power player? Solar power installations and generations and all that good stuff. The company that I'm dealing with, we've got an all South Asian crew, and they contracted out to different. It's all over the map. They contracted out to different companies, and all the companies, the installers, are usually white guys. The guy doing the selling the permits and the paperwork, they're all from South Asia, and the guys doing the work are white guys who couldn't be bothered. What is that? I think there's cicadas. They just sound like they sound weird. Always something in the bag. Here's where you have your what the fuck moment. Is trash can's right there. You're already starting to see the asphalt starting to bleach out. Pretty soon the luster of this project will start to fade, and it'll just be another part of the trail. And I lament that. This is a big deal. This is a BFD. like I said, my dad would come here and turn around because this part road was loose gravel, had this nasty hill. And he didn't want no parts. He couldn't, like I said, he had a stroke and had a hard time walking. So he would get to the levee and then turn around. Had he lived to see this, who knows? I remember him telling me that. He said, man, I tried to get to the levee and it was a little rougher than I thought. It took him longer to get back, and I was worried. So I started walking that way, and I caught him halfway. And I walked to dead. And he just never did it again. Yeah, that's my sad tear jerker. It's been 4 years and I do miss. I miss those moments. We would go to Bachman. I'm sad that I never got to run with him. My dad was a fast runner, so I wouldn't have been able to keep up with him. But he was so proud when I started jogging. He was like, oh man, yeah. He couldn't wait to give me tips and pointers. And he'd say, hey man, when you get ready to do this, hold back on this, don't you tell me how to train and everything. He'd give me all this tips. Get ready to run my first half marathon. No, I mean, it was my first. Yeah, I've done 15 and a half miles since I did my own. I run up Brookhaven, run around home, and that's 13 miles. We'll sit here for 5 minutes and we'll see what happens. But I don't know if someone actually just sits there and closes the gate, or it automatically does it on its own. Because I sat there and I looked at it, and I'm thinking, this guy in the truck must be the guy who comes in there and he says, all right, well, as soon as I leave, he hits the button. And he hasn't been doing his job. But there's just too much going on. Every time I try to keep up with my own thoughts, I keep looking over and there's something that grabs my attention. The guy urinating over the side, and I'm like, okay. I didn't see that, but I mean, you know, stuff like that. Just see a shabby looking guy, and I was like, well, I guess he's planning on sleeping here tonight. I'm supposed to. I'm gonna sit here for about 5 minutes. Normally I would go over to the little corner there and use their porta potty, but I think it'll be closed by the time I get over there. As you can see, 5 minutes before closing, it don't look like these guys are going anywhere. And they said they flashed lights 15 minutes before. Here we are, 2 minutes. I'm not saying I want them to close the doors and get those little riffraff out there. It's like, no, it's hot outside. And these guys need this distraction. This is a third space. I don't mind that it stays open. I just wish somebody would monitor some of these things. I go in there and there's graffiti, and you go in there, there's guys camping out, there's guys selling drugs. Putting this here wasn't a bad idea. The way they implemented it. That's the typical Dallas. It's somebody came up with a good idea. Dallas implemented it. And did it in a half-assed way. You see signs of that in West Dallas where it's like, okay, we're gonna put residential lighting in, but they don't put it in like they put it in with bare wires hanging out. They don't put it in with any kind of like cladding, or they didn't dig deep enough, or they didn't do a soil analysis. They just put lights in. And there's no excuse for it because there's a whole handbook that they give cities on how to do this stuff. Like somebody did a handbook about these lights. These lights are here because somebody said, okay, we did SEPTED, and SEPTED tells us this is the way you do the lighting. They got the flock camera there. It's a waste of time. And then you've got the fence around here. The guy had mentioned that they're friends of Bachman Lake. He said, well, he said, what about the walk-in gates? I said, Jeff, they keep those closed. He said, what do you mean? I said, they lock them. They never unlock them. He said, that's stupid. I was like, I know, that's Dallas. They got one way, 10 o'clock. Okay. They got one way in, and that one way is through the driving fence. And then they just keep the walk-in gates locked. That's a waste of money if you're not going to even use those things, if you're just going to constantly block something. But see, that's the thing, is they didn't want to have somebody come in here in the morning, unlock them. They didn't want to pay for the manpower. That's the problem with this whole skate park. They wanted to put it up here, have it look nice, but you need a person. You need a person to kind of watch the place and maintain it. You need a crew, actually. Keep the trash is minimal. Make sure that nobody's abusing the electrical sockets. Make sure that, you know, they paint the rails, make sure the rails are in good shape so that these guys aren't trying to do grinds on something that's rusted out or pitted. Like what I'm doing right now, I'm just kind of walking around the trail and I'm like, okay, they do turn the lights off. I'm waiting to hear if they're closing the gate. All right, let me head on over there. Now I suspect what's happening is the gate isn't closing because maybe someone's jamming it open. Okay. That glass? That is sunglasses. Alright, I'm just gonna listen to some music now. Shut my mouth. All right, now begins the fun part. So what are you learning? If I tell the people from the city about overgrown vegetation blocking, like an asshole every time. If I tell them about overgrown vegetation blocking something, they have a chart or something that like, well, you can kind of get by, so. And I'm like, no, the point is, if it's going like this, it's going to encroach in no time at all. This needs to be chopped off. Not only that, but just because you can get by with no problem doesn't mean that somebody who's got a disability or maybe a bigger person is going to be able to squeeze by it. They rub up against the plants, they got some kind of allergy, and they break out. But like technically, there's 24 inches of clearance, so therefore this is okay. It's annoying that somebody on a bike or that somebody riding around in a rascal would just kind of have to go around that, or like me walking. But I forget how loud it is over here. Anyway, not a priority for them. So they'll hold off a minute, and then they say they're monitoring, and all of what that means is, Mr. Young, you're monitoring it, so if it gets really bad, let us know. I was like, I did let you know. Well, let us know again. So the secret of getting things done in Dallas is you have to be a bitch. You have to bring it up 4 or 5 different times. You have to sit there and say it in some kind of meeting. You have to go up the chain, down the chain, around the chain. What they really hate is when they neglected a person a really long time and that person goes to like the news media. And then the news media is like, yeah, somebody got killed the other day, but it turns out that this guy's been reporting it all along. And they're asking, Dallas, why didn't y'all do something about that? And they're doing the slippery snake thing where they're just like, well, you know, some long convoluted answer that doesn't really answer the question. A meandering stall. Like that right there, that's not 24 feet of clearance, but that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I put it in, they ignore it. Supposed to be doing a mow clean. They came through here, they knocked all of this out. I wasn't expecting it. I thought they were going to tell me, well, this is all part of some nature thing, preserve, blah, blah. No, they just hit it. But when it comes to trees, they don't touch them. I don't know if they've got to have an arborist that comes in and he tells them to go this way, but they don't tell me that. If they told me that, it'd be like, okay, that's a plausible answer. The arborist says, look, I gotta get to it, or damn, it's loud over here. You know, there were budget cuts. We only got one arborist, and he's all around the city, and right now he's dealing with the issue of the dumping they had in the Trinity River. Something. So then that's when I get on the thing and I say, hey, I need to know if I hire a private company to come in and trim these trees, am I allowed to do that? And as soon as I put that ticket in, Dallas is like, all right, no, we're gonna put the mow clean. The mow clean's gonna be done in 30 days. So I was like, oh, okay, good to know. Here we go. Oh, pretty. Yeah, I have my spot. I guess we turn this off.
That must take a lot of batteries.
Not a lot. They're built in.
It's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like it takes a lot of batteries.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, the life of a professional pedestrian. Got to make sure they don't hit you. Huh? What's that? Yeah, I got these are dive cameras, and then this are dive lights, and then this is a spotlight or helmet cam.
You got more light than the miner.
Trying not to get hit. Uh-oh, there's DPD. They down over here. Traffic violation? All right, man, be safe. There's 2 of them, 3 of them. What's that talking about? It's like the 3rd time. Coming up behind you. Yep. Whatever they're doing. There's still somebody here. do you think? Oh, all right, I needed that. What I love about the Insta360 is when this sucker goes out, all this does is, like I said, it looks at the timestamps on my Garmin GPS and it says, okay, yeah, I know where to. I think that's what it's doing. I think it's syncing, but it's so hard for me to tell. Like, it looks like it's a little off. Sometimes I'm looking at the arrow where the compass is supposed to be pointing, and the compass is not pointing right. And it never looks like it points right. And I was like, well, how do you, I was like, what's going on with that? So who knows? Take care. Is it off its tracks? That's exactly what it is. Okay. So, someone said, you're not closing this gate, and they knocked it clean off its tracks. All right. Okay. Let's make a note of that, shall we? That's vandalism. All right. Yeah. Yeah, it won't be closing tonight or for a while. Oh wow. They knocked it clean off. They knocked it clean off the hinges. Yeah, they knew what they were doing. Okay. All right. Is that the control box? Yeah, that's what it's pretty clever. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. They had an idea how they wanted to do it, and they don't have any, like I said, there's nobody here enforcing that stuff. So somebody went by and said, oh, you're not closing the park at 10 o'clock like you're supposed to. And they knocked it off the tracks. Oh, look at a lot of models. Is anybody in there?
Oh, right. You people don't need to see this.
Oh yeah, let me take some pictures while I was in there. But yeah, as you can see, there's like graffiti all over everything here. Okay. Bachman Lake Skate Park. This app rears its ugly head. Photos attached to ticket, period. Gate at Bachman Lake Skate Park has been knocked off its tracks, comma. Chain for the automatic gate system is broken and lying next to the gate, period. Oh, I didn't know they had electrical outlets over here too. Of all. Here's the thing, and like I said, this is the kind of stuff that the Rossman people are talking about, that Steve Burke's talking about with Gamers Nexus, that one of the guys talking about, I can't remember his name, but I saw him on the privacy protection thing, or about technology. All these YouTubers, I want to say YouTubers, but the YouTube community that's concerned with privacy, safety, and repair and ownership. If, like I said, if y'all paid all this money to this private company to come out here and install these stupid goddamn cameras in front of things, what is it catching? That's my thing about the flock, is like, that's my take on it, is I'm over here in areas with the flock and I see stuff as I'm walking around, and I'm like, me just walking around seems to be catching more and doing more than this thing just kind of blinking and whirring and taking out all this data. Like, what good is this fucking thing? And I would be mad about, I'd be scared or mad about a surveillance state if they were competent and functional. But it doesn't appear to be that way. I'm out here at 10:30 at night looking at the busted tracks on a fucking gate, and I'm wondering what the fuck this stupid flock thing is even doing. Are you just recording pictures of kids skating so you can get off with your sick jollies? Is that what this is? Or is this actually supposed to be catching criminal acts? Because it seems to be failing in the latter. All I think it is you put this up here so you can see what the kids are into. What are they eating? What are they skating on? What are they wearing? Can we sell this to guys who kind of like that whole fetish thing? You aren't sitting here trying to help us out. You're sitting here trying to get cheap research off of us. And that irks me. That irks me to no end. I just don't get it, man. It ain't catching shit. It's a waste of money. Our money. So that's my 2 cents. My angry 2 cents as somebody, as a constituent. Y'all put this stuff out here. You told us it was for our safety. And I'm not feeling safe at all. Anyway. Getting off here. Soapbox. You know, that camera wouldn't have caught anything. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at where the blanks are. Okay, that one would have caught something. But I don't know if it has a zoom lens. That's the one that would have saw something. And it's a PTZ camera, which means that somebody has to be at the switch, whipping around and then catching it. Meanwhile, this here is an old CCTV camera system that they had put in for the parks department, and I guarantee you that it no longer works. And it's pointed at all of this. And I don't see any sign that it's active. Wasting our money, man. Anyway, I'm pissed. I'm super pissed. I would be mad about the flock cameras being a nanny state or surveillance state if it was actually doing that. I'm more mad about the fact that it's a boondoggle that doesn't seem to be doing anything. That's what I'm starting to realize with the whole war in Iran thing. It's like, you can be afraid of the United States. I guess what the Ukrainian war and what the Iranian war is kind of proven is major powers and big guns are laughably obsolete now. You know, it worked back in the days when everybody had me have big army, and they all meet up on a battlefield and they duke it out. It doesn't work when your enemy scatters like birds. It doesn't work when you've got this big giant sword and you're swinging it around and they got the little rapier and they're just cutting at your arms to the point where you can't hold up your big sword anymore. War has been democratized, decentralized. It doesn't matter that you've got nukes, the enemy is already in within your borders. The enemy is fighting you from within. I am trying to have a conversation with myself and there seems to be an audience. Anyway, that's what I'm angry about. And the idiot in the White House wants to build battleships. $12 billion battleships. They can be taken out with $50,000 worth of hardware. And I guess that's what I see over there too. To segue back is you've got this gate, you got these cameras, probably cost you like $50,000 or something. I don't know what the price is on these things. I know that everything is usually way too expensive. It's not the materials, it's usually the labor costs. So I know the labor on something like getting all that stuff fixed and maintained is ridiculous. So they got all that fancy stuff on that skate park. Somebody took it out with, they probably hit it with their truck. The thing was getting ready to close and they ran off into it. Got their paint scuffed a little bit and then drove off into the night. Your $1.2 million flock system wasn't looking at that at the time. $1.2 million. I want to say for $750,000 you could have hired a whole crew and just kind of had them come around and just have them walk around every once in a while. Keep the park open. You gotta say, hey man, what are you doing with that spray paint can? Man, don't do stuff like that. That's gonna mess it up for the rest of us. Pay a guy $50,000 to do that. Pay a couple of fellas to come in there and clean up every once in a while. Instead, $1.2 million to not catch someone knocking a gate off the hinges. I guarantee you, like I said, once they say, well, looks like our 1849 research group left the area, so let's go ahead and turn off the camera. Or they got it pointing at the ground or the ceiling or something, who knows. You'll say, but AI doesn't exist. AI is a bunch of guys writing spaghetti code. And it looks like it's doing what it's supposed to do, but it's a con job. All AI does is help you out with automation. If it's something mindless and repetitive, it catches it. Your AI is not going to sit there and say, hey, I see something that's out of place, because it won't really know what the routine is. The AI didn't grow up in the inner city for 30 years. The AI doesn't have a law enforcement background. The AI isn't from the area. It doesn't know when something's amiss or out of place. Maybe the AI could sit there and look, and maybe there was some kind of tracker on the gate, and all of a sudden the alarm was going off saying, hey, pop, 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 pop. But they didn't do that. They just put up 4 or 5 cameras and said, okay, private company that we're paying $1.2 million, look out for us. And the company said, sure, I got you. And that guy took your $1.2 million and went to Aruba. You're paying for a product and not getting it. That's my gripe and my 2 cents. Hey, I paid for the Nanny State Deluxe package. And all I got is a camera that looks at the ground. And I can be mad at the people that are doing this, but I'm mad at the people that elected them. You idiots that elect these people. You who will never face any judgment, who can't shoulder any criticism. While your guys taking everybody to the cleaners. You voted for this. You voted for a guy who said, hey, you can't buy routers anymore if they're not made in America. I was like, okay, well, when Americans make a router? We hadn't figured that part out, but don't worry, the market will do. The invisible hand. You voted for invisible hand morons and thought, oh, they could just put something like that together overnight. Can they now? 30 years. Oh man, I can't continue a thought because there's stuff happening here that ain't supposed to be happening, and I'm walking around in the middle of it. The lights just went out. part of me said I wasn't even. I was gonna say, hey, everything's fine. I'm like, okay. I was like, we took care of everything we needed to take care of when we came to the skate park. They fired the first shot. They said, nope, this is not the way it's going to be. Okay. I now have a group that wants to watch it. It's understandable, and it's outlaw culture. My whole deal is, what I understand from what I understand punk's supposed to be, punk is supposed to be, we challenge traditions. And we're forcing the society to take a good hard look at itself and realize that it's not as heroic or clean as it thinks it is. I think sometimes people think punk and they think lawless violent chaos. I'm thinking that what punk is supposed to be is educated people exercising their right to ultimate self-governance. I don't need a central authority telling me what to do. I am the central authority. And I would be in agreement. But what kills punk, what kills all movements, is how are the least of your followers or adherents going to act? I keep thinking about when I was watching a documentary about there was this community of people, and they had all rallied behind this like Indian, what do you want to call it? It might have been Indian, I don't know. They call them the Bachman or whatever it is. But they were all around this guy who was supposed to be some kind of guru and telling them everything. He sounded wise, and they built an entire community. But the people who built the community were college educated, middle class and upper middle class kids who already had a plan in place. They just needed, or they already had the skills, they just needed motivation. And so they built this paradise in like the West Coast, and it was working out. Everybody was in there. They were communing, they were jamming. They had something nice. The guy said what started happening was we started getting people. People started coming to the community with serious problems. They had broken homes. They came from broken homes. They had substance abuse problems. They were mentally ill, and they came to the community. And man, it went downhill fast. They said all of a sudden we're enforcing, we were enforcing laws, and we're putting laws in place and all this other stuff. Everybody's punk and everybody's hardcore until you get that element that you don't know how to deal with. Bachman Lake, it seems like it could be a nice place, but you can't have nice places right now because there's too many mentally ill people running around doing stupid shit. And there's two things that are missing, or the two things that aren't coming together. There is an enforcement network, but it's not an enforcement network feeding into a mental health network. There's just an enforcement network that takes the people and tosses them in a hole somewhere. And as long as they're out of sight, they're out of mind. Meanwhile, they're banging their heads up against the walls, and they're crapping on themselves, and they're going stir crazy. You know, we call ourselves a Christian nation. But there's a line from the Bible that says that what you do, or I don't know if it's from the Bible or not, but there's a thing that's associated with Christians. And the line is, that what you do for the least of my brothers, you do for me. And that's a damning indictment of America. I'm out here surrounded by the least of our brothers. And I have no clue what to do. I mean, I have a clue what to do. Let me rephrase it. I know what to do. But I can't go in there and I say, hey, can we take and spend barely $1 billion to build a mental health network and start building some housing, you know, that, can we take an abandoned hotel and convert it into a mental hospital with a homeless shelter? I say that and all the naysayers come out, no, you can't do that. Who's gonna do this? Who's gonna do that? And I'm like, okay, you shoot out my suggestion, what's yours? And I had a class like that one time where I kept bringing suggestions that they were trying to figure out what they were going to do for their speech. I said, man, you can do this. Nah. And the guy said, he kept saying, nah, I just don't see how it's feasible. Nah. I was like, oh, how about this? Yeah, that sounds like it's too much work. Well, how about this? And after about 3 suggestions, I said, well, what do you suggest? He says, I don't know. He said this, I don't know, but I know not that. You fucking asshole. You don't know. That's what a fool says. A fool says, I don't know, but not that. If you're not offering any kind of suggestions other than just saying no, get the fuck out. You're in the way. That's the problem with this country. There's a lot of guys like that are in the way. Let's try this, let's try that. No, that'll be too expensive. No, that's too hard. No, what's wrong with what we got right now? No, we just need to build more of this. We just need to build more of what ain't working. You guys just need to build more jails. And you just look at him and he's like, there's not enough concrete, time and money. And that's what they're finding out. That's the fuck around and find out of the immigration issue. You thought you were just going to round up a bunch of brown people, throw them into a hole somewhere and forget about them. And then the hole got filled up. And then people started poking around the holes and taking pictures and saying, hey, this is milking mighty unchristian over here. The least of our brothers are dying of heat exposure in their own wastes. Because you wanted to prove a point. You want to be the tough guy. You wanted to be something you saw in a movie. Thought you were going to come out there and be Dirty Harry. Dirty Harry is a joke character. It was a joke movie. It was almost a laughable comedy. This loose cannon cop with his big giant gun. He's just gonna calmly walk up to people and talk them down. You're out here? No, I didn't think I was going to be the action hero. I didn't think I was going to be any kind of anything. I just wanted all I wanted to do was walk. All I wanted to do was bike. And all I wanted to do is sit there and do nothing. Play video games, eat candy. I want to be lazy. And I'm not saying I have a heart. I'm saying that I had a situation where I ignored it. I was the guy. I ignored it. I saw the problem and said someone else will take care of that. Someone else will have to do that. That's somebody else's job. And it got worse and worse and worse, and we got to the point where we had fires breaking out. We had people screaming at 3 o'clock in the morning on the front lawn. I was late to work because somebody stole a truck and parked it right in front of the street. And I'm over here giving the cops video footage and telling my boss, hey, I'm gonna be about 15 minutes late. Somebody stole a car in front of my house. Or someone dropped a stolen car off in front of my house. When I don't do anything, the gas line blows up. And I got police coming over to my house talking about, hey, you gotta get out. Every time you sit in your neighborhood and you say, hey, someone else will take care of that, somebody else's problem, it becomes your problem. I'm out here at 11 o'clock at night because I work the night shift. And I stay up too late. When I say stay up too late, I'm staying up to damn near noon. And it's my fault that I'm out here this late. But it's not my fault that there are people hanging around here that ain't supposed to be hanging around here. Like, I see that light flickering over there, and it tells me, I see now in the eyes of a criminal, that shows me that somebody's asleep at the switch, literally. So then I start casing the place out. I was like, hey, this thing has been going on like that for months. That means they don't care. I'm looking at this fence and I'm like, I wonder how I can breach that part. I wonder if I could cut through that. I bet there's about $1 million worth of copper over there. Let's see how I can get to that. That's what happens when you're sitting there walking around saying, eh, someone else will take care of that. Right now in my head, the wheels are turning and I'm like, who do I report that to? And what I could do, Encore doesn't really make themselves easy to contact. You can report an outage theoretically if it's up and running. Like, the whole reporting thing is up and running. Sometimes that site goes down. So how do I report an outage here? Hey, you got a flickering light over at your transformer station. I might want to look into that. Oh, okay, well, thank you, Mr. Young. We'll look at that. We'll look right into that. 6 months will go by. Hey, whatever happened with that flickering light? What flickering light? And you're just sighing. Mr. Young, we don't see why that's a big deal. You don't, but the copper thieves do. So I see they got a flock camera over there. And I guarantee that whoever breaches this gate and takes the copper out of there, the flock camera won't catch you. Think about something like the Ring camera system. They sell it as this thing that'll keep you safe and protect your pets and all that other bullshit. And they didn't stop Samantha Guthrie's mother from being kidnapped. You got a picture of some bright light looking into the camera. Took that woman, they didn't pay the ransom, and she's dead. I'm trying to even figure out why they even bothered to send a message to say she's dead. I'm laughing because it's incredulous. I'm like, were you trying to be a nice guy? Like, yeah, sorry we took your loved one who was in poor health because we tried to squeeze a little money out of you. Not even apologizing for that, just says, hey, she's dead. Almost as if to say, you know, thumb their nose and say, yeah, you should have ponied up the dough. Is the FBI going to catch them? The FBI is run by Cash Patel. What do you think? Damn. I'm starting to go through the bars. And that's just going to get worse and worse. It never ends. I just realized that. Guess I better. Oh, okay. I've been at this a while. Oh man. No, I'm gonna be thinking about that for a while. Every time you see a guy like that, a car that makes all the noise and rides around fast and everything, that's the guy who says, I don't know how to be a real, that's what they tell you. The red flag is, I don't know how to be a real person. I'm phony. I lack confidence. I'm incapable of independent thought. You're not a rebel, you're a cartoon character. Well, oh, I smelled it. So, how long have I been at this? I started at 20. It's now 23, 22. So, ice in the backpack will last about 3 hours. It's still cold, it's just not ice cold. In another 30 minutes, it's going to be lukewarm. Is there anything left? There's a little something. I mean, I got about Half a liter left. Anyway. Maybe I'll change the name of the channel from Boring Dallas to Crazy Dallas. The wordsmiths are saying that's a dirty word now, you're not allowed to say that. I was like, dude, give me something else. And it can't be a sentence long. And it can't sound like it came out of the Oxford Dictionary. I get so sick and tired of this Orwellian bullshit of that's not the word we use anymore. Whatever new word you use, it's still going to sound just as condescending. You know it when you hear it. Not quite right. That's all I'm saying when I say crazy. I'm not saying a stupid nutball. I'm saying somebody who ain't quite in the sync. Then somebody who's out of sync from the rest of us. And who's dangerously out of sync with the rest of us. You can be out of sync and cool. These guys ain't cool. They're dangerous. Dangerously out of sync. I think what gets me the most is I'll see the guy out there with the car that ain't got the muffler on it. No registration sticker, no front plate. We're not even sure the back plate goes to that vehicle, is registered to that vehicle. At that point, what are you going to tell me about that guy? You might say criminal. Well, that might be an offensive term. It's crazy. It's criminally insane. I don't know. Scofflaw. But I always wonder what that logic leap is that says, look, I should be able to drive whatever I want. You don't live in Shoodland. You live in a community with other people. Other people who might be sensitive to air pollution. And you're not just one guy. You're one guy who sits there and says, I want to run my car without a muffler. And then there's 1,000 guys who want to run their car without a muffler. And that's the 1,000 guys pumping stuff into the atmosphere that we've been trying to get rid of for the last 50 years. Yeah, well, that's if you believe that global warming bullshit, and then that's when you start attacking the messenger. Ad hominem attacks. You know, these guys aren't even telling you this, that, and the other. I got a guy who tells me that this is what's happening. And I won't say an ad hominem attack of the guy, but I'm saying, okay, his data, where's he getting it from? What's his background? This is a whole other thing that. So yeah. Oh, we're conveniently right next to the marker. All right, let's get pictures. The first thing we get is a GPS lock. All right, that looks pretty close to where I'm at. And we get pictures. We'll take a picture of the marker. Like I said, that's just something that I'll add to my plate later. Like this sign right here. To me, I see all the little cracks and I see the fading and the peeling of the reflective paint. somehow this pixel camera looks through all of that and says, look, nah, I see the reflecting marker clear as day. You gonna call that one in? Nope. I'll try to get home. But I think I'm gonna take me a little break here. I remember I used to watch Penn and Teller's bullshit, and they would talk about little things like this where the ADA was bullshit and they were part of the skeptical society. And you're not supposed to take away that just because somebody put disabled signal light on parking spots and everything like that. That's not the part that's bullshit. The part that's always bullshit is you have a good idea and then bureaucracy gets involved. How do my buddies make money off of this? How does this make it look like I'm doing something? This makes my nipples hard because I'm a control freak. And those are the people that are implementing the plan. Not the person whose grandma comes to the park at the Rascal and that's the spot that they put it in for her. She can't get to the sidewalk because somebody decided that's where they wanted to dump a bunch of driftwood. That's my whole point. I don't know if someone disabled is actually parking in front of that spot. I just know that I have one elderly parent, had two elderly parents, and one of them, it was mighty convenient to have those spots and sidewalk. And so to see what I just saw just irks me to no end. That's part of what happens to me is I get this kind of learned helplessness where I say, why bother putting the ticket in? They're just going to ignore it anyway. But I couple that with the part of me that says, do I have time to stay on that? And the answer is always no. With the whole Bachman Lake skate park thing, yeah. I can't let that one go. That's going to become a bigger issue. It hasn't already. Just got to feel that something really bad's going to happen there. Okay. Get my thing turned off here. Oh, man. Moon that. Did I go to Bachman last week? I did. I always take my own videos. Right now I'm 3 days behind. I just realized it's after 11. Gonna sit here for about 5 minutes. Oh. Of course, there's some trash behind me there. It's always trash. Oh man. You know, I kind of wonder how long these benches have been here. I think they put these in the late 80s. Multiple planes taking off and landing after 11 p.m. period. No, I'm just thinking about how I got all heated about two things about the fly camera. Like I said, normally these things I don't care about, but I guess because it was like Mike Judge was talking about through his mouthpiece on King of the Hill. I would be afraid of these bureaucratic institutions if I didn't know that they were incompetent. If it wasn't just a bunch of people ticking off boxes and not really working toward any kind of coherent goal. I don't know why the flight cameras exist. Or let me rephrase that. I don't know why the governments want the flock cameras necessarily. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I can't just sit here for 1 minute, be by myself. Somebody was listening at me, I don't know, fuck it. Anyway, what was I saying? I know somebody's brother-in-law had to get paid. And that's the only reason we have flock cameras. That's the feeling I get. This isn't the old adage of a solution in search of a problem. This is more along the lines of give them the disease and sell them the cure kind of deal. What can flock cameras do that good old-fashioned foot patrols can't? You try to tell me, well, the camera's always there. And I was like, yeah, but the people aren't always there watching it. Here's another thing, a system you can sell. You can sell people a system where it's just drones patrolling an area. And then if something happens to one of those drones, it sends out an alert to the authorities, and then they go out there and check it out. You know, make little flock armadillos. And they just kind of run around the trail scampering, and they see, and they're capturing everything on their little cameras. And if somebody messes with the armadillo, it sets off an alarm. If the armadillo sees something, it sets off another one. I guess everyone's worried about Black Mirror, but in the world of Black Mirror, those people seem competent. People that came out with that technology knew what they were doing. They weren't a bunch of charlatans, you know, high school or college dropouts that took a few coding classes and made something that looks like it does what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't. It's programming smoke and mirrors. It's tech sector smoke and mirrors. Tech sector con jobs. Hire a bunch of people, gobble up a bunch of VC capital, say you're doing wonderful things, and tell the people, well, you know, the only reason you're not seeing it is because you just don't get it. You're just not techie like I am. Just trust that I know what I'm doing. The tech bros are doing the same thing that the finance bros did. You know, you don't need to know what credit default swaps do. That's all. Just trust that we know what we're doing. We went to school for finance. And they were just doing 3-card Monty with debt. And I guess with the tech guys, they're doing 3-card Monty with, they're not even doing 3-card Monty with this is more along the lines of, in the 90s, I remember the 90s and 2000s, there were these guys that were selling these. It's supposed to be some kind of system where you plug it into the power grid and it generates more power than, it was some kind of super battery that would generate a surplus of power, and it would save you so much money on your bills. Oh my God, I'm starting to sound like I'm talking about solar panels, aren't I? This wasn't solar panels though. This was just something that's supposed to have some kind of magnets in it and hook it up. And you pay these guys, and they were supposed to get the permits and go put and have it installed. And it turns out it was a big giant scam. It's cold fusion. That's what it is. AI is the next cold fusion. That's just what it feels like. It feels like it wasn't a bunch of researchers that was coming up with this. It was some tech bros came out there and said, hey, trust me, I know what I'm doing. I know this guy who went to this place. And if he says it's good, it's good. You guys are going to have cold fusion within 10 years. Trust me. And AI feels like cold fusion. And I was watching something that Rick Beato said, and he said that AI is already done. He says, man, I've been through this before. He says I'm just looking at the music industry. He said, why would I pay all this money for this AI in the data centers when I can just take a large language module, put it on my personal computer, and it automates all of that stuff for me. Sure enough, that's what happened. Is there's two types of people. The people who are the venture capitalists and the companies trying to make the money off of it, and then there's just an open source community that just released the code and did a bunch of things And they kept it modest, but it works. You get multiple eyes on it. No, I just realized I sound like a crazy person. I'm sitting out here in the middle of the night talking to myself. About things that are above my pay grade? No. I actually know a little something about this. I went to school for this, believe it or not. I took a artificial intelligence elective back when it was first starting out. I couldn't get into the neural networks class. They were just starting all that stuff when I was leaving. Like when I was leaving, they were doing robotics. I wanted to get into that. I was like, wait a minute. And I was like, it's too late now. I had to get a degree. The degree was in computer science. Computer science was the hot thing. It was computer science and software engineering. I was picking my major because I wanted to make money, to have a pretty, solid job, and I was good at a lot of things. One of the things I was going to go into was biomedical engineering. That was a cutting edge field, doing gene splicing and all that other good stuff. I thought, cool, I can do that. All I ever wanted to do was build robots. But at the time, there wasn't really a solid degree for that yet, at least not in the UTD catalog. It was in its infancy. So, in the movies, they make it seem like these guys, they have a degree in robotics. And it's like, no such degree really existed back then. What happens is you have an electrical engineer and a mechanical engineer and a computer scientist, and a systems analyst, and they all get together and they merge their disciplines, and then they create robots. You kind of had to be good at multiple things in order to tap into this. When I was going to school, that's when they started having dual majors. I don't know. Maybe they had all that stuff before, but they had dual majors, and I was going to get into that. SMU had a program where you could do computer science and software engineering. And I went down there and I talked to the guy, and the guy looked at me like he didn't have time for me, and I was like, okay. Because he knew. Back then it was 12 grand for that entire program, and I thought, wow, that's a little too rich for my blood. 12 grand for 2 degrees. 12 grand is not even a semester now at SMU. No, I think it was 12 grand a semester back then. It's probably. I know it's insanely high now. And then I gotta hear stupid people say things like, "We just can't seem to find talented people." It's because you're not paying for talented people. That's. Anytime I hear somebody say that we have a shortage of this, it's because you're not paying to get those people. They'll lie and they'll tell you, well, we're offering them $50,000. It's like, that's not enough to live on in the city. You think that's a lot of money? It's not anymore. I was thinking today about why we can't have deflation. Because from what I understand about inflation, all it is that you charge interest on loans and whatnot, and there's more money in this. There's more money in the supply than there was before. So people have more money to use, and so they're willing to pay more for things, and so then the price of everything goes up. Every once in a while, they talk about shrinking the money supply. The way we do that now is cutting interest rates. The way we did it in the past was to tax people. And through taxation, you take money out of the money supply. But now politicians run everything, not practical people running everything, and so they're scared to death to tax people. Anyway, it's too much money. Too much bloody money. That's the expression. Goddamn Americans, too much bloody money. I think this was here last time. I don't think it was there last time. I think the same person just keeps coming in and dumping their shit over here. Oh man. It's weird to live in a world where if I make $100,000, that's considered barely middle class. All right. Man, I'm looking like Javier Bardem. No Country for Old Men, huh? Am I ranting and raving too much for you? Maybe. I have a ground level understanding of all these things, and some finance guy just rolled in his eyes saying he doesn't know anything. And I was like, no, you don't know anything. I know you're bullshitting all of us. I know this is all just one big giant shell game. Anybody in here? They broke it again. There. Does the sink work at least? Sink works. Toilet's broken. Full of hygiene napkins. Yep, toilet's broken again. There's some kind of green algae growing out of it. This is what the Strong Towns is talking about. While you Friday bros are telling me that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I can't get parks to fix a goddamn sink. Because they don't have any money. Anybody in here? Still broken. Fuck this. So we're going to take out the entire green. I don't know what I'm getting, I'm just... Man, that is a big spider web. So girls, you can get a couple of them. Big spider booties. City of Dallas can't fix a sink Because almost 30 years ago, George Bush, or 30 years ago, George Bush said we can run an entire state without revenues. And I remember that joke. It was, what did they call it? They called it tax-a-haul or something like that. And they were pointing out how George Bush was running for president. And they said coming nationwide. And they were saying there's a guy out, and it was a political cartoon where a guy sit out there in Texas. He was in the middle of the desert with his truck empty, ran out of gas. He stuck by the side of the road. And there's a big billboard that says George Bush's tax-a-haul or something like that. It was making fun of some, imaginary product. And the caption was running states without revenues, coming nationwide. So, finance bros, I don't care what you say. I know what I'm talking about. No boondoggle when I see one. I know when I see con men going in, draining the coffers, keep everything for themselves, and the storehouses have no rice in them. I know charlatans when I see them. That's that guy from earlier. Man. He was running around that way, and he came back around and all right. I guess I'm talking because I don't think anybody's going to be watching this part. No one's going to be seeing me walking around in the dark at midnight around Bachman Lake. I need to stop doing this. I need to stop doing this. I feel disillusioned. I don't feel like this is going to get fixed. I feel like I'm putting band-aids on a big gaping wound. Bachman Lake has become a refugee camp. You say you can't call them refugees, they're from your own country. I was like, their own country abandoned them. They are refugees from their own country. They are refugees. It sucks. You think about that, Katrina. It says, don't call them refugees, they are evacuees. And they knew exactly what they were doing. And the guy was calling them on it. He's like, wait a minute, y'all are calling them refugees like they can't come back. And they said, they didn't say it, they said quietly, exactly. Katrina was the nail in the coffin. Yeah, they'll try to tell you that New Orleans is back better than ever. It's not. My kinfolk are from there. They all left and never went back. They're here making lives for themselves over here. And there's an aggressive effort to go in there and take the land away from a lot of black families that were living over there. Tell them that they don't develop, or they don't pay their property taxes, we're going to take the land. And the people are like, I can't rebuild, I don't live there anymore, And so they're scooping up the land left, you know, as fast as they can. And it's not like they're going to turn New Orleans into a resort town or make it a bayou version of Vegas. The way I understand it is insurers are pulling out of the state. And then you got PBS sitting there, the PBS Terra, talking about how it's going to be uninhabitable like within the next 20 years. They can't keep the Delta from flooding. People are trying. Oh no, they've told us that before. It ain't wrong. No one's going to spend $100 billion to secure the homes of about 500,000 people. Your history's not that rich. Even if you try to make it a playground for billionaires, which no billionaires are going to live over there. I don't know, man. The Trump thing, if Trump didn't get elected, would I be doing what I'm doing now? And the answer is yes. But at least I think there would be more positive things happening. I think if Trump wasn't elected, I think the thing that I just said about them building a solar array somewhere by the park to, you know, power the lights on, I think there might have been a grant program for that. I think the Biden administration would have said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Or, you know, well, the district I live in wouldn't have been gerrymandered away. And I would have said, hey, Congressman Vesey, I got this idea. Who do I talk to about this? Instead, howdy. Instead, Mark Vesey's district got gerrymandered out. So he's gone. So we don't know who has this now. It's up in the air. Chances are somebody from way up north in like Carrollton, Plano area who thinks that this area is nothing but a trash dump is just going to ignore it or turn it into their personal project. And the people down here don't vote, so we're gonna have an election in November, and I will be shocked if turnout is above 25%. .25% is my bar. I don't think enough people are angry or smart enough to vote this time around. That's the other irritating thing, is that Trump got id because 1/3 of the population couldn't be bothered. They said, look, man, I'm just gonna sit this one out. And I was like, that was fine in 2016 when we thought Trump was a joke. It's not fine in 2024 when we know the damage that he's capable of. That's my whole thing, is I sat out 2016 because I said, he'll only be in there for one term. How bad could it be? Yeah. One pandemic later, I had buyer's remorse. I said, never again. I said, I hate the Democrats. I hate them with an all-consuming passion. But they're the only thing. They keep the status quo. They don't make things worse. And that sounds like a good thing, except I didn't say they make things better. They don't make things better. Like, Democrats run this city, and what they do is whoever's pocket they're in, that's what they're doing. Every once in a while they might throw a crumb to the poor, but for the most part it's, what can I do for the people who are paying me? The Republicans completely dropped that pretense. I guess I can understand why somebody doesn't completely stop at the stop sign. Maybe they come from a bad area where you do that, you get jacked. This guy stopped. Nope, no he didn't. There goes your CDL. This is rolling and stop the whole time. That's an RV. What do they say? Stop signs are dumb. All right, here we go. Looks like I'll be getting in the street. course, I'm sitting here trying to look at this sign, and this asshole's wandering around, and all I want to do is they close my ticket out. They didn't fix it. They said they fixed it, they didn't fix it. I can't believe, I mean, how hard is it to change out a sign? You think I was asking for their firstborn? Oh, man, I'm tired. I'm so fucking tired. You let a strong wind come by. This fucking asshole has to be coming by. All right. No, I just think of all the dumb fucking things. They got a damn kiosk over here. What is that? I wonder how, you know what, that's the kind of thing that I don't mind if they vandalize the hell out of it. I really don't. Go nuts on that. Is it okay if I walk through here?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Sitting up against it right here, bro. Put your belly up against this road. Put your legs on it.
Oh. Pothole situation. I wasn't really caring about potholes. I was just trying to get this out of here. That's what that was all about. Warrants. Either it was warrants or they got into an argument with somebody, tried to drive away from the area, and they told them, you're not going anywhere. Seems like they knew, like I said, they knew where he was, so. Maybe that guy was sleeping there or something. Enforcement with no real solution. Yeah.